Yes, yes, yes. Digging that. Let's make sure I can be heard. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. About to get this started. What's up, family? We're going to be in here for about 45 minutes. So for those of you who are still on the plantation, we're coming to you live at 5, just to give you a little bit, just to give you a little taste of 2022. For those who are listening on Facebook, what's up, y'all? It's good to check y'all out. We done got the sage smoke going. We got we got all the things, as my children say. We got all the things ready to go. So this is today is the third day of January. I hope all is reaching you well. This is the live to heal the people. We got so much good stuff planned for you in 2022. Like it's not even, I can't even play. And you know, I'm just super excited about it all. So let's hop into it. Let's go ahead and move into what it is that we want to talk about. We're already 4 minutes into it, so I want to make sure I don't waste your time. We can get to the shits straight off the bat. What's up to all the people that I see that are in the chat room? It's good to check you out. I'm not about to waste your time tonight. I know that you're getting ready to go home. You're on your way home. You're doing what you need to do. As you can tell, we've upgraded the studio for 2022. We're not playing. You know what I'm saying? It was time for an upgrade. What we have to, what we're going to address today is a topic that we were really looking to focus on, and what is going to be our focus for 2022. And that is really focusing on the mental health aspect of To Heal a People. And the reason why I want to talk about the mental health aspect is because I think there needs to be some historical reference. Wait a minute. Let me back up. Let me back up before I even get all heady. I don't want to come from the head space when I'm speaking to you today. I want to make sure that I'm coming from the heart space. I have a lot of information to share and that I want to share with you and that I think is important to share, but I don't want to simply come from hitting you with information. I want to make sure you understand that I feel you, right? And what do I mean by that specifically? What I mean is that I understand that we are now in some very dark times. And I don't mean to by any way, shape, or form ignore or want you to ignore everything that is going on with you right now. Everything that's taking place with you in your environment right now. Everything that's going on with your children right now, everything that's going on with your finances right now, everything that's going on with your housing right now, everything that's going on with your work right now, your career right now. I don't want you to ignore any of those things, right? What I would rather you do is to try to connect what I am going to be speaking about with those things, because you're not tripping. I want you to understand that you're not tripping. We are in some very, very dark times, as is indicated, as is evidenced by the fact that we're going on into the over 2 years inside of the pandemic with no no end in sight. We are dealing with pandemic levels of violence inside of our communities. I had a niece that was shot on New Year's Eve through the stomach, along with 2 other children, and the other 2 didn't survive. We thank the Creator that she did. We ask that the Creator take care of those souls that didn't survive. And I know that you're dealing with this too. And so one of the main reasons that we decided to do this show is because we recognize that there are so many, like there's this whole self-help genre, there's this whole success science genre, and it absolutely, completely ignores the struggles and the challenges and the cultural aspects and nuances of Black, brown, indigenous, and working class poor white people. It ignores it. And the reason why it ignores it is because it's not, the solutions that they offer are not rooted in the struggle that and the challenges that you and I are dealing with. They're rooted in not being able to get, cinnamon on their pumpkin spice latte, right? They're rooted in a whole different privileged reality. And so what I've always said to that community is that if your success science works, then you got to use it on the least amongst you. And if it works on the least amongst you, then it will raise everybody up. But the truth of the matter is most of their success sciences and most of their philosophies don't and wouldn't stand up to the challenges that you and I are facing. So I just want to give a shout out to all of you who are struggling with the particular challenges that you have. But 2022, right? We are not going to numb our ways through 2022. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is that we have been set, what has been set in front of us as a people are all sorts of distractions and numbing agents. And listen, I'm not judging. I'm not judging. I'm not judging you from the numbing agents that you engage in and the distractions that you engage in. I'm not judging you from that perspective. I'm a 2-time cancer survivor. That I know that my cancer was fueled by my my drinking of alcohol and engaging and eating foods that were not healthy for me in order to help numb me. So I'm not coming to you from a holier than thou, saged out perspective. I've been through it. It wasn't until my second time of getting cancer that I came off of alcohol completely. It wasn't until my second time with cancer that I decided to have a plant-based diet. It wasn't until life threatened to take itself away from me that I was like, okay, you got it. So I'm not coming to you from a perspective of, judging you around what your numbing agents are. What I'm simply saying is that we are in such a critical time now that even your numbing agents will not help you get through what it is that you need to get through. And it's not going to put you on where you need to be. Thank you, Sister Cheryl. I appreciate that. And so when I say we're not going to numb ourselves through 2022, trust and believe that that is what the plan is for you to do. And that is what we can, that is that we have something to address all of that. I was writing a piece right earlier that I want you to understand the challenges around addressing mental health in the Black and Brown Indigenous communities. Unless you understand the challenges that we face as a community around addressing mental health, then everything else that you see us do or not do is only going to confuse you. So I want to provide some clarity for us around where Black, Brown, Indigenous people stand with mental health, even though this year we're making mental health our 2022 resolution. Water, right? So I for those people who have watched Black, Brown, Indigenous people wrestle with mental health. And I don't mean wrestle with mental health itself. I mean wrestle with even the idea of getting treatment for mental health. What mental health means when you say that to a Black, Brown, Indigenous person is not the same thing that it means, and it doesn't have the same ramifications when you say it to someone who is not Black, Brown, or Indigenous, or if you say it to one of our Caucasian brothers and sisters. It's not the same thing. And this is why most of the mental health services that are offered to our community, A, are either missing the mark, or B, are not accessed by the people because there is an inherent historical avoidance of those systems of healthcare. But that comes for a reason. And I want to talk about that so that we don't start shaming and blaming those people who most need mental health, but don't get the help that they need. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about it from the historical perspective so that we understand that when Black people came to this country, we came as enslaved people, by and large. And in that enslavement, us striving for our simple freedoms, us striving and running north, the Underground Railroad itself was considered by the health establishment of the day to be a sign of mental illness. Let me say that one more again. When Harriet Tubman and them were planning and plotting to run north and to get away, that was considered a mental health issue of the day. And it was actually has a name, just so that you know that I'm not, playing with your mentality here. I want you to go look up the word drapetomania. Go Wikipedia and look up the word drapetomania. Drapetomania was actually a medical diagnosis given to Black enslaved people who were running away from their captors. And because they were running away from their captors, they were considered insane. It was considered a disease for them to do that. And I want you to consider this. I want you to consider that that same establishment looks upon Black, brown, indigenous people who are still trying to run away from the system of today as being mentally unhealthy. Right? When Black people went into hip hop, when Black people went into dancing, we were called going into fits, or engaging in all. They've never seen our resistance as in juxtaposed to white supremacy as healthy, and it's always been labeled as mental illness. I want you to think about that. The next time that you have a conversation or you hear Black and indigenous people having conversations about why they don't trust the healthcare systems, I'm talking way back in the 1800s. I didn't even address the ongoing health holocaust that Black, indigenous, brown people have been subjected to in this country. That's just the truth. And so when you see resistance coming from those communities, please understand it's not because we have an adverse reaction to being healthy. It's because of two main reasons. One, our resistance to the systems that we are placed in has always been called or been labeled mental illness by those who are in power. These are the facts. These are the facts, beloved. And so I want us to be a little more gentle when we judge those of our people who don't want to run to the hospital, those of our people who don't want to run to get jabbed, those of our people who don't want to run to go sit on somebody's couch or open up their feelings and their emotions and their challenges, their emotional challenges to strangers. There's a reason for that. There's a historical reality around that. And unless you take that into consideration, then what you are doing is placing judgment on a group of people or groups of people out of ignorance. And you will never be able to support them in becoming healthy. That's the first thing. The second piece of it is I want us to understand and to take a moment to recognize this. I want you to take a moment and listen and recognize this. There is no group of people on the planet that could be subjected to the systems of oppression that Black, brown, indigenous, working and poor white people have been subjected to, and it not have taken a mental, emotional toll on those people. I want you to think about that. There have been groups of people, listen, there have been groups of people who have encountered this same type of oppression and have decided not to reproduce themselves, have decided just to check out of the planet altogether. Look it up. There are people, there are indigenous people in South America and in some of the islands that when they encountered the oppression and of white supremacy, and as much as it was asking of it to do, they decided we ain't having no more babies. We're checking out of this. Y'all can have this world. So I want you to understand that to assume that any group of people could withstand and walk through the challenges that Black, brown, indigenous, working class, and poor white people have endured for the past 500 years under these particular systems could somehow endure those systems and come out completely mentally healthy is just, it's not rooted in reality. Water. throughout this show, when I come to a point that I want us to pause on, I just say water. So when you watch this show, you should have water with you if you're still trying to get your 8 glasses in, which is what I'm trying to do. So that's the first few points that I want to make. That's the first few points that I want us to understand, right? And so with that, how do we then, and I'm asking this question to you as much as I'm putting it out there at the same time, how do we then begin to draw Black, brown, indigenous, and working class poor white people into a mental health framework in 2022? Because let's be clear, I'm sorry if I haven't said this already, let me say it now. People are losing their shit. In case you haven't noticed, people are losing their shit. From 2020 to 2021 was the most violent gun year on record for Black people. We are now killing ourselves at record numbers. Again, I'm not speaking in hyperbole. This is what the data is telling us. More gun violence happened in 2020 to 2021 than in any time in recorded since they've been keeping track of it. And that is because we are beginning to witness just the tip of the iceberg of what is occurring with the dual pandemic and how these systems have failed Black, brown, indigenous, poor, and working class white people. They have failed us, and they will continue to, because during this same time, it is no accident at the same time where it's been the most violent that this country just endured the largest wealth transfer in its history, where more money moved from the poor and working classes into the rich and the uber rich and the ultra rich. That's not accidental. Those two things are connected. And they're connected by, so the question then becomes, what is our defense? How do we heal a people who are currently on track and on course to eliminate themselves, to eliminate ourselves? Water. Again, I don't want you to take my word for what I'm saying as far as the most violent drapetomania. Fact check everything that I'm telling you. I'm giving you these things not to put you in a state of fear or despair, but I do want you to understand the seriousness of the time that we're in. And the seriousness of the time that we're in demands that we go back and find those secret jewels and nuggets that are rooted in our culture that can then make sure that we move forward into the future. Let me give you an example of that. It is very clear that we are now living in a time where if our immune systems, our natural immune systems, are not strong and are not on point, we will continue to be made susceptible to all sorts of diseases, illnesses, and et cetera, that exist in our environment. I'm not even going to get into a conversation about whether these diseases are man-made or not. It makes no difference in the end. What makes a difference is what is our defense going to be with the current state of environment that we're in. And if Black, brown, indigenous, and working class poor white people are not focused on making sure that they have strong immune systems that can withstand the environments that they are forced to operate in, then we're going to be looking at even higher numbers than what we're dealing with now. That's just the truth. And so, instead of running to the very systems that have not supported us and are indeed have been slow to support Black, brown, indigenous, and working class poor white people throughout this pandemic, we are going to have to go back. We are going to have to go back to what our ancestors have done in order to strengthen their immune system. Now, what are some of the things that our ancestors did to support their immune systems? They ate clean food. They drank clean water. They exercised regularly. They did breathing techniques. They used the herbs of the land. And I'm not throwing no shade when I say this, but listen, there's a lot more herbs out there other than marijuana. Marijuana is not the only healing herb that exists on the planet. Okay? There are plenty other natural herbs that you can and must use in order to strengthen your immune system so that you can survive the encounter. Water. So, with that being said, the Righteous Rage Institute, along with the To Heal the People movement, are embarking in 2022 on several programs and campaigns that we hope that you take advantage of in order to strengthen and bolster your immune system, both your physical immune system, your spiritual immune system, and your mental immune system. All need to be strengthened. All those systems need to be on full fleek at all times if you expect to survive the encounter. Right? And so with that, I want to talk about some of the programs that we have. Just in January alone, we are hosting a men's group. Why are we hosting a men's group? Why are we hosting a men's circle? Well, it's very simple. Men are the most resistant. And again, we're talking statistically, so there's really no argument to be had here. Men are the most resistant to getting and seeking support for their health. Whether that be mental health, whether that be physical health, we are more resistant to that. And if we are going to survive the encounter, we are going to have to change that. We are going to have to normalize taking care of our mental health, our physical health, and our spiritual health as a people if we expect to survive the encounter. And that's our do we want to go down this rabbit hole just a little bit? Yes, just a little bit. What we're going to do inside of this men's group is to normalize being authentic and vulnerable with each other, because it's our lack of vulnerability and authenticity with each other that furthers our illness. That is part of the sickness. Right? That is part of our inability to be vulnerable, our inability to be authentic with ourselves, because we're trying to live up to this westernized standard of manhood is literally killing us. It's killing them too, by the way, but it's killing us as well. And so I want to make sure that we are addressing these type of pieces, right? So that's why we are forming a men's group. So we will post it, and some of my people who are here can post the links that you can find to the men's group that is going to be starting later on this month. That's one of the things that we're doing. What else are we doing? We are forming and have formed and will start this Saturday. We are starting on a 3-month full healing journey where we are going to teach, and we are actually paying for 15 people in our community to go through a complete holistic training where they will learn meditation and be certified in it. They will learn Reiki and be certified in it. They will learn yoga and be certified in it. They will learn meditation and be certified in it. We are going to super train a cadre, a cohort of Black, brown, indigenous, and working class white people to be able to create what I'm going to tell you now is called your practice. What do I mean by that? What I mean is if you speak to a martial artist or a lawyer or a doctor or any of people that have a particular profession, they call those professions a practice. A practice is is something that you do daily to sustain yourself. It's a habit, but in its institutionalized form, it's called a practice, a law practice, a doctor practice, a martial arts practice. I practice, right? Those are called practices. We as individuals, especially as Black and brown, indigenous and working class poor white people, aren't told to have a practice. We're told to go to people who have practices in order to solve our problems for us. Do you understand what I'm saying? We're not taught to be the answers ourselves. We're taught in this system to go to people that have practices. And what we need to do is to shift that paradigm and make sure that every individual in our community that is walking through our community has their own personal practice. What does that personal practice need to entail? It needs to entail self-regulating techniques, breathing techniques, meditation techniques, diet techniques, right? Education techniques, financial techniques. That all those need to be part of your daily practice. Without lecturing too much, that is what a intact culture provides for you. So if you go to the blue zones on the planet, and I'm dropping dimes here, water. For those of you who are science nerds, Google blue zones. If you go and see, blue zones are zones on the planet, and there's about 4 of them. There are zones on the planet where people live to be over 100 years old on the regular. They have the most amount of centenarians in their society who are healthy. Japan, this particular space in Japan is a blue zone. Costa Rica is a blue zone. There are these blue zones throughout the planet. If you examine and when they studied how do these people live to be so this old and happy, by the way, that's a very important component to the blue zone. It's not just that you live old, is that there's a happy index, and these people are the highest on the happy index. They have very happy lives and they live very long lives. Those, when they examined those people, they all had something in common. And what they had in common was a daily practice. In Japan, they do a qigong and tai chi and yoga and breathing techniques, and they walk and they collect with each other, they laugh. It's a whole culture. And so what we're looking to reinstitute back into our communities are these daily practices. That's the only way that you're going to really get through 2022, is that you replace the bad habits that you have in your life that have been given to you by Western society for the purposes of profit with your cultural relevant, healing, blue zone, sanitarian health practices. And I hope I'm making sense when I'm saying that. I know we're going a little bit down the rabbit hole, and I don't want to. I won't tarry too much longer. We're at the 35-minute mark. So that's two things. We have the men's group. We have the cohort of healers that we're pulling together so that they can develop and perfect their own personal practice, and then go out and share and teach another 15 people, and so on and so on and so on, until our community has a group of people that can operate on code. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of the people that y'all or that we call community leaders, or that are, activists or whatever, they are some of the biggest violators and have some of the least amount of emotional control and emotional intelligence. And we're sending our children to them, and they can't keep their own temper. And if you cannot listen, the Chinese have a saying: he who loses their temper first, he who raises his voice first loses, or he who loses control of his emotions first loses. We have to learn self-regulatory techniques, and that is done through having a self-reflective practice. We'll get all into that. I don't want to go any further down that. Y'all, but y'all understand what I'm talking about, right? So what I want to do is some of the links are being set inside of the room. So those are two of the programs that we're doing. We're also going to have a Heal the Healers convening. And depending on where this new strand, the latest strand, Omicron or whatever is impact that it has, we may have it in person, we may have it online. We're having that as well. We're doing the conductor circle, where we have raised a certain level. I'm not going to even say the number yet, because y'all, one, you wouldn't believe me, and two, we're still in the process of shoring it up so that we can launch it. We've raised a significant amount of money that we are going to be supporting people, supporting the community, and creating healing pathways for themselves in order to survive the encounter. So, as we roll in to 2022, the famous saying, new year, new me, right? But there will be no new you if your habits are the same as they were in 2021, 2020, 2019, etc., etc. You need a new practice, and we're going to support you in creating that practice, right? That's what we're going to do. We're going to put a new practice into place. So please feel free to reach out to us through Facebook. Feel free to reach out to us through the various links that you see here. 2022 RRI and the To Heal a People campaign will be working diligently with leaders in our community, with community organizations, with grassroots organizations and folks underground, in order to give them the necessary tools and the necessary practices in order to survive the encounter. So, also, we are going to be launching this month the To Heal a People podcast. Now, this is the To Heal a People live, and I love doing the lives. Don't get me wrong. But we also are going to have a podcast that we just brought on an amazing producer, a brilliant sister out of Chicago, who is going to be supporting this podcast project. So we also have the To Heal a People podcast that's going to be launching within the next couple of weeks. So as you can see, we're throwing everything that we have up against this, right? And our vision is not rooted in the destruction of what is. Our vision is rooted in the what could be. We're not spending our time, and I don't want you spending your time in 2022 fighting the machine. I want you to instead be engaged in building the alternative systems that will render the machine obsolete. That's what I want you to be able to do. That's what we're about in 2022, and we invite you to come on that journey with us. So on that note, at the 41-minute mark, I'm letting this out. Kalila, it ain't excited for, excited for this all. I thought you were saying you all. I was about to say, you're coming with us, sis. So let's not even play. So this is the movements that we're going to be on in 2022. We're asking you to join us. I want you to take a moment right now and to like and share this video. Share it out so that you never know who's going to hear it, who needs it in a moment, who's having a dark feeling, a dark moment, and they need something to grasp onto. They need something to set that has a pathway, a practice for them in order for them to continue to move around in 2022. Hell, most of the people that are listening to this need this. And so we want to give people what they need that will support them surviving the encounter. So on that note, this is H Soul on behalf of RRI and the To Heal a People campaign. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're well this evening. Make sure you drink some water, get some rest, move your body. On that note, H Soul, and I'm out.